What's up? What's going on, guys? How's everyone doing today? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. And the reason I'm out here having these types of conversations, the reason I'm out here trying to start these discussions is to try and alleviate some of the suffering that's happening out there in silence. So if you're out there thinking that maybe nobody really understands what you're going through, what you're feeling, what kind of thoughts go on in your head, if you're out there, if that sounds like you, just understand that no matter what it is you're going through, you are not alone, and life can and will get better for you. So good morning. If you're listening to this in the morning, good night. If you're listening to this at night, hope you had a good day. If you're just starting your day, hope you have a good day. But yeah, welcome to the show. So if you're new to this show, that's what kind of stuff you can expect. If you're not new to this show, if you're a returning listener or a viewer, thank you so much for coming back here. You are the reason I do what I do. But what's going on? I hope everyone's doing well. I had a pretty solid day. Don't really need to talk too much about it, but one of the coolest things about this day is just kind of the fact that with everything I've been doing today, I have, for the most part, been pretty present. And this is one of the first days in a long time where I can actually confidently say that to be true. I think a lot of the time I get caught, especially because of the way that I live my life in pretty heavy routine. I get caught living in that routine and not thinking about anything outside of that. A lot of the time I get stuck kind of doing like, I have my Monday to Friday work, and then I have my workouts throughout the week, and then I have like kind of the work that I tend more to on weekends. And so with all of that stuff going on, it's kind of like pretty much my entire day, every day is scheduled out. And so it's pretty easy for me to sometimes just like almost mentally turn off and just go through the motions. And though that has its uses in life, like I think that that's a great way to kind of push through kind of those monotonous times in life where you're just kind of grinding from A to B. I just don't really think that that's a way that you should kind of be addressing your day-to-day life. I think it's important you kind of, and this is something that I've been chatting with a lot of people about recently, and I think it's important to kind of take a look at your life. And this resonated a lot, actually. Zach and I from Plaid Jacket Philosopher, we've spoken about this quite a lot, actually. It's about like kind of looking at your life and figuring out what you actually want to do on a day-to-day basis and how you can achieve that. I think that the last couple of years has kind of provided a perfect opportunity for a lot of people to go and do such a thing. But I think a lot of us, we kind of get stuck in this like rat race, this kind of never-ending loop or cycle, and we forget about the way that we actually want to live our lives. And that's something that I have to remind myself of a lot of the time. And I'll give you guys a couple examples. A lot of the time, it's very easy for me to kind of take what I have for granted and wish for more. A lot of the times I have very ambitious goals, to say the least. But it's very, as useful as it can be, and as, I think this is something that I'm actually supposed to do, it's difficult for me to remember that the things that I do on a daily basis are kind of the things that I love doing on a daily basis. And they're the things that I would dream about doing on a daily basis, for the most part, if I didn't have to work for money anyways. And so I've kind of done this reflection quite a few times, really just asking myself like what I'm looking for in my life. And I know for myself, it comes down to I have to move every single day. There's no like negotiation around that whatsoever. I have to move every single day. My body has to exert itself in some way. Whether that be a hard workout or working in construction or doing a little bit of yoga, going for a hike, going for a walk, whatever it could be, my body's got to move every single day. There's a couple other necessities that I have to take care of for the most part. I got to sleep every day. I got to eat. I got to see people. I got to chat with people. I like having the opportunity to have long form conversations like this podcast brings me the opportunity to have. And so when I think about, my daily behaviors, my daily actions, what I get to do on a daily basis, and that in and of itself, that statement is so huge. It was such a mindset shift that I had to make. Not thinking about the things that I had to do on a daily basis, but the things I got to do on a daily basis. Right? So that's very useful for people that work in the fucking trades, because a lot of the times we think about all the shit that we have to do. Oh, I have to fucking do this. You can look at the fact that if you're someone like me, you have to swing a hammer for fucking 8 hours a day to get your pay. Or you can look at it or you can look at it in the sense of, I get to show up to a place. First of all, I even have the fucking privilege that my body functions properly, and it's my obligation moving forward to make sure that it can continue to move and function properly, which is a fucking episode in and of itself. But the gratitude that my body can function properly and that I can show up to a place that will pay me for my skills or teach me new skills, right? That in and of itself is such a fucking mindset shift that you have to make. I no longer have to show up to a place to fucking work at something. I get to show up somewhere and get paid for the skills that I've gained in the past or develop new skills. And so that's one of the mindset shifts I've had to make. Another one, right? Recording this podcast, or even thinking about the conversations that I get to have with this podcast. Yeah, I could look at it as like a responsibility. I could look at it like, fuck, I made this commitment and now I have to follow through with blah, blah. It's like, dude, half the time, I like fucking listening to myself speak anyways. So fuck, I'm just going to talk into this camera for endless amounts of hours, because that's fucking entertainment for me, and which gives you a little bit of sick insight on how this twisted brain works. But I also get the chance to sit across the table or sit across, sometimes it's over Zoom. I obviously prefer in person, but I get to talk to people that are way too smart. Like I would never be qualified to speak to, or successful in certain areas of life. I get to get all these new perspectives, which is a huge privilege. For me, I've had to take a look at myself in the last couple weeks and start to think about the things that I do on a daily basis. And no longer think about the things that I have to do, but start to think about the things that I have the privilege to do. And while I was doing all of that, I've had some recent conversations with people. One of them is in the group that we have, these the weekly mental health calls and the daily mental health discussions on Telegram. But I was having a discussion with one of the individuals, just one-on-one on the phone, and we were talking about, simplifying our lives and just kind of cutting out all the distractions and the shit that isn't necessary, and making sure that, maybe you have to change where you live, or maybe you have to change where you work, or maybe you have to change your partner, or maybe you have to change your fucking self. But it's very possible to change the daily things that you do in your life. Obviously, you have fucking commitments outside of yourself. Like maybe you have children, maybe you have whatever, right? Dependents of other sorts. But it's like, for the most part, we can change what we do on a daily basis. And you can choose the things that you have to do. You can't just choose to fucking wake up tomorrow and be a millionaire. But you can choose to do something that you actually give a fuck about, or something that you're actually good at, or something that you actually want to do, right? Like for me, obviously, construction wasn't number one on my fucking pick when I was in high school trying to think about the things that I wanted to do. But I started to actually think about, in terms of, first of all, I had to figure out the scalability of this industry for starters. But second of all, I had to think about, what do I actually need to do on a daily basis for me to feel good, feel happy, feel like I can go to bed at night and actually fucking sleep a good night's sleep. For me, I know I have to fucking solve problems all day. I have to interact with people. I have to, be able to communicate, have conversations. I love those things. I have to be put under a little bit of stress. I work well under stress. And above all else, I got to move every day. It's something that I got to do. And so when I started to think of it from that perspective, it's like, man, this is kind of actually a blessing, because I've worked in sales positions where I had to sit down and make fucking phone calls and send emails and do that kind of shit all day. And trust me, I love talking, but it's the sitting that fucking killed me. I just couldn't be sat down in an office that long. And so, if nothing else today, I want to just kind of, tell you guys a little bit more about myself, but also, B, give you a little bit more perspective into this and maybe think about, maybe where you can simplify your own life, where you could kind of maybe cut out a little bit of the fat, cut the bullshit, and just think about what you actually want out of your life. What do you want to do on a daily basis? And what have you been doing on a daily basis? And maybe if you haven't been feeling good recently, you could think about, are the things I'm doing on a daily basis things that I need to be doing on a daily basis, things that are actually going to fulfill me on a daily basis? And what does that look like? Maybe think of, I guess what you could do is think of a daily criteria for yourself of things that you need to fucking do on a daily basis. And I'm talking about things that you need to do, not that other people need you to do or your fucking boss needs you to do or whatever it is. Like, what do you need to do on a daily basis? For me, those priorities are different than they will be for you, right? You're going to have to dig deep. And this means not just what do you want to do, but what do you need to do? Because those are going to be completely different. Because obviously, what you want to do on a daily basis is going to be a little bit different. I'm talking about, what does your brain, body, mind, and soul demand of you? Right? What will leave you feeling fulfilled? Not the fucking instant gratification dopamine rush that you're looking for. But what's going to nurture your mind, your body, your soul, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Make sure you're eating the right things. Make sure you're sleeping the right amount. Make sure you're exercising. Make sure you're communicating with others. Make sure you're being honest. Make sure you're, taking care of the shit that needs to be taken care of. And then how do you want to do that on a daily basis? And start to think about the things that you do now and compare the two lists. And if you're fucking feeling awesome, continue to do the things that are making you feel awesome. And continue to kind of look at the things that you're doing and draw more pleasure and more gratitude out of those things as well. But this episode will probably be most useful for the people that feel like shit right now, because they're going to look back at the things that they do and analyze on a daily basis. Is it, first of all, is it that mindset shift that you have to make between what do I have to do and what do I get to do? Or are you completely neglecting a lot of the other fucking things that you're supposed to be doing? Simplify your life, cut out the bullshit, and take care of that shit. That's all I got. Thank you so much. Much love and peace out.